Good evening, everybody. I wanted to make a video to answer a question that I have been seeing a lot on our Facebook page for the Mid-Ohio Jeepers organization specifically. This is going to encompass general off-roading for beginners. So the question was, does this radio meet the qualifications for the club for trail rides? So we're going to answer that real quick and give you some quick information so that you will be ready to talk to everybody on the trail. So we see a lot of questions about, does this radio meet the qualifications for trail rides? Because comms are very important on those rides. I'm going to show a picture real quick of a typical radio that we get a question about. Midland is one of the more popular brands that we see a lot of. I started out with those personally, but as I'm going to explain here in a second, there are a lot better options out there. The Midland works okay. It does what it needs to on the trail rides. There are several limiting factors though, and I'm going to cover that right now. So the Midland is a radio that you can buy typically in a 2-pack at a big box store like Walmart, and it is going to come pre-programmed with all of the FRS and GMRS channels. So Mojo runs channel 22. Basically, you just input 22 on the radio, you can talk back and forth. The downside to those radios is they typically are going to use regular batteries, so I think AA, 3 AA batteries. I'm not sure if they have a recharging option or not. You can buy rechargeable batteries if you want to. The standard fare is just to throw a couple batteries in it, use it for the day, replace those batteries next time you use it. The main drawback with that is if you don't have those on hand, then your radio can be without power and you have no way of charging it or changing the batteries if you forgot batteries. The main benefit to this is the cost. They're typically, I haven't checked prices recently, but I would say in the $30 to $50 range. So if this is your first trail ride and you're just looking to get your feet wet, you're not sure if you're going to be doing this a lot, great entry product to basically test out the waters and see if it's something you really like and if you want to get into. The next option, and what I personally would recommend, is to get one of these. These are the Baofeng radios. They do have them that are FCC compliant now. This one is an older one, so it doesn't meet that same qualification. But the nice thing is that this radio is completely programmable. That's a pro and it's a con. The con is you actually have to program the radio. It can use a program called Chirp, which I highly recommend you put it in your laptop. Plug here on the side, there's a plug you can get in, hooks into USB, and then you program your radio, put in the channels however many you would like. This will hold a lot of channels. I don't know the exact number, but it's in the hundreds, and it will basically act like those cheaper radios. Now this does require a GMRS license, which is $35 if memory serves. There's no test with it. It's a fee to pay. You get a call sign. Not a lot of people use their call sign on GMRS, but technically you are supposed to every 10 minutes. Just like your radio on your car, on the radio station, they'll give you their call sign so that you know who you're listening to. But the nice thing with this is its versatility. They're pretty stout. I've had this one for several years, haven't had any issues. And you can actually upgrade this to look a little bit different. I'm going to show you that real quick. All right, guys, so these two radios look completely different, but the guts is actually the exact same. So these are both Baofeng UV5Rs, very common radios. You can pick them up on Amazon. These themselves are going to be in, say, the $30, $35, $40 ballpark. You can get extended kits with more batteries. The longer battery will hold more power, obviously. Antennas. One of the nice things with these types of antennas is that they will actually expand. So I take the little holder off, and then it snaps out. This one's a 24-inch. The other one that I showed you, it's actually a 48-inch. Now, why that's important without getting too technical, because this is a beginner intro video, is that each frequency is going to be tuned to a certain antenna length because it's a certain wavelength. So you could have the longest antenna in the world, but if it's not tuned to the correct frequency, it's not going to do you much good. Likewise, you can have one that, say, is this guy, or maybe even this one, and if it's in the proper range of frequencies that you're going to be using, you're going to get really good reception. So you want to make sure that you're looking for the correct antenna to go with the radio. The downside with the Baofeng is that, again, you do have to program it, and the ones currently that I have don't have recharging capability. Some of the newer ones do, but they are a little bit more expensive. And again, if you're just entry level, the ones with the batteries already set from Walmart might be fine, but this is going to get you more miles out of it, especially if you continue on with the hobby. So the last one I'm going to show you, and these are handhelds, is something like this. Now, this one is pretty fancy. It's more expensive, and I'm going to do a full review on this one, but this is the VTech GMRS Pro. The thing that I like about this GMRS radio is it has a lot of cool features. One of them being is it has a USB-C charging port right here on the back, so you can charge it while it's in your vehicle. It also has a Bluetooth app that you can control the radio through your smartphone, and it will even connect to your Jeep if you have Bluetooth, and the sound will come through the Jeep speakers, which is really cool. Couple of the other features, you can send text message on this radio, GMRS radio to GMRS radio, and again through the app, so you can talk to other Jeeps in texting if you don't want to say something over the airwaves. You can also share your location, because this thing has, right there on the top here, has a built-in GPS antenna. So again, for entry level, you're probably not going to be using that, but if you have any questions about that radio, I highly recommend it. I've gotten to play around with a little bit. Haven't got to use the group features too much because I don't think anybody else in the group has one yet, but if you do, let me know, and we can kind of mess around with those stuff and see how it does. So, all right, everybody. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Basically, we went over entry level, mid, and kind of a best tier option that you can have for your handheld HT radios. With that all being said, again, the antenna is going to be where the magic happens. The problem with using a handheld radio inside of a vehicle, inside of a Jeep, and I know Jeeps don't have metal roofs, but they have metal doors typically, roll bars, it's a big hunk of metal. All of that will interfere with the radio frequencies. So, to get around that, these are really good if it's your first radio and you're just trying it out. If you're going to be serious and you are going to get into off-roading more and you want communications, an externally mounted antenna with a hard-mounted radio is the only way to go. I'll use this as an example. Went on the Christmas ride a few years ago. I was right behind Keith and Sherry Deal, who Keith's the president of the club, and I had this on my dash. Transmission came over, complete static. Could not hear it, anything. And I thought, hey, that guy's radio is really messing up. Keith was right in front of me. He had an external antenna, replied back to the guy like it was crystal clear. I could hear Keith fine because I was literally right next to him. But the person who was 100 yards back couldn't make it out. So an externally mounted antenna with a hard mounted radio. You don't have to worry about replacing batteries. It runs off the vehicle. Typically you can get more power out of them. You can run a larger antenna. They're going to give you a lot better performance than one of these guys. Now, if you need to hop out of the vehicle because you're spotting someone or you have an issue, these are still invaluable because they allow you to communicate with the other vehicles. And at the end of the day, that's going to be the main thing, especially for a new rider, is making sure that you know what's going on. If you need help, you let people know. Because the assumption is, especially if we've been doing this for a while, that people have been doing it a while too. And they know what's going on and they know what to do. If you're new, you might not know that. And that's where one of these guys is going to come in to communicate and say, hey, I need help, which there's nothing wrong with that. So, to wrap everything up, hopefully you learned a little bit of something. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message on Facebook, comment here. I'll see it either way, and I can give you some pointers and maybe some advice. I'm not the end-all, be-all expert by any means, but I do know a little bit about this stuff. I have had some experience. If you want to get into it kind of to the next level, there is the ham license that you can get, and that's kind of a whole other ball game. But if you go that route, that can open up a lot of opportunities for you for communication. The main thing I will tell you is that in where we wheel, typically in Vinton County, there's not cell phone service, but there's a ham repeater. So if something really bad happened, I just have to get to the top of a hill with my radio to be able to talk to the repeater. Hopefully someone's listening on the other end and they might be able to call emergency medical personnel to help out in whatever situation is going on. So to me, it's a very important safety thing, and I'll be completely honest, having radios in the car on a trail ride or a road trip is some of the most fun you will ever have. So hopefully you learned something. I really appreciate you watching this far, and like I said, if you need help, just let me know.